Hello?
Have you checked the children?
Well, I have, as a matter of fact. But let's check out the movie that scared the shit out of every babysitter in 1979, When a Stranger Calls. The movie is set up in two distinct acts. The first 20 minutes is creepy as shit. The babysitter arrives and intends on spending a quiet evening studying and having a few conversations with her friends while the children slept upstairs. Not long after she arrives, the phone rings, and this disturbing English accent slinks through the phone.
Have you checked the children?
First she thinks it's a prank phone call, then she thinks it's some dude from school that she likes. She sloughs it off at first, but as the calls persist, she becomes increasingly frightened. She calls the police, and at first they're not very helpful and tell her it's probably a crank caller and to blow a whistle into the phone the next time they called. He keeps calling, and finally the police agree to tap the line and try to trace where the call is coming from. She manages to keep him on the line long enough for a trace, and in one of the scariest scenes that sent chills up my spine the first time I ever saw this movie, they tell her that the calls are coming from inside the house. Man, the look on her face. She flees to the front door and struggles with the locks, while upstairs the door opens and a shadow looms across the wall. She begins to panic as she fumbles with the chain lock, and when she finally gets it open, Jesus Christ, you could have banged on the door, yelled police, blared some sirens or something. You scared the shit out of the poor girl. Imagine opening your front door in any scenario and finding Charles Durnan standing there with that look on his face. I'd shat myself as well. Act 2 takes place 7 years later. Detective Shatpants is now a private investigator and is hired to track down the killer, who had recently escaped from the mental hospital. The rest of the movie spends a lot of time focusing on his character. He's homeless, living on the streets. Thin and sickly looking, he begs for food and money. He gets his ass kicked after talking up some woman in a dive bar, and you almost feel sorry for the poor fucker. Then you're quickly reminded of his atrocities when he notices the original babysitter's face in the newspaper. Later that night, the babysitter, Jill, and her Bob Ross look-alike husband, they go out for dinner. While there, she's told there's a phone call for her. And guess what?
Hello?
Have you checked the children?
They race home. The kids are safe, luckily, but she's obviously left wakeful in the light of what has happened. She hears some noises in the middle of the night and roams the house in the dark before returning to bed. She hears his voice from the darkness of the bedroom, reaches for her husband, and holy shit, he's in her bed. He hisses at her before lunging for the final kill. In predictable fashion, he's shot dead by the private dick just in the nick of time. The movie has its dry moments, especially when it's trying to drum up sympathy for the killer in Act 2, but it's still an effective movie for its creepy atmosphere and how much it can scare you. And if anything, it inspired a generation of crank callers who were able to milk that menacing line right to the hilt before the advent of call display. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you at the next slaughtering.
Your blood all over me.